championship. Here's Danilo Petrucci, third yesterday, his fourth third place in a row for the Italian, and managed to quite brilliantly hold off Alex Lowe's yesterday in the closing stage, but he might come under a bit more threat today if he doesn't find a little bit more pace. Yeah,
Petrucci struggled yesterday for speed, but he was able to put himself into the right places at the right times, rode a really good defensive ride. You have to say Alex's performance was really impressive on the Bimota, showed how good that package is, but Petrucci's come away with 4 podiums in a row.
He has indeed, and I'll be hoping for a 5th one here today, but at the summit of the championship, he'll be hoping to increase his championship lead. Nicolo Biliga struggled yesterday with a hard front tyre. Didn't really feel the bike was quite under him like he would like, so I wonder if he'll maybe go for the softer tyre this afternoon.
Yeah, I think for Biliga, you'd be surprised if it's still the hard tyre in this afternoon's race. Seemed that yesterday it worked well for the couple of riders that had it, but it didn't offer them the same grip. They were just folding a little bit, so you wouldn't be too surprised if everyone opts for the same tyres as one another for this afternoon's longer race. The Superpole race is going to be interesting, though. Who's going to use that Q tyre?
It'll be really interesting indeed. Michael van der Mark, we're seeing on screen now, had quite a disastrous weekend, and from a human perspective, it's quite sad to see because he's had 4 crashes this weekend and had a lot of technical issues as well, so Michael van der Mark will be looking for just quite a consistent day, a solid day to build his confidence back up.
Yeah, I'm feeling for Mikey right now because he's obviously shown in the past how good of a rider he is, multiple race winner for BMW and for Yamaha in the past, and a rider that can perform really well, just not able to get that bike to work right now, and he's struggling on that same area that Toprak's struggling, and Toprak's just about able to make it work. And Mikey just seems to fall off that edge of the grip, and then you just don't have that feeling for what the bike's going to do, and it's really unfortunate for Van der Mark right now, and he's in a really tough position because there's only 2 BMWs on the grid, and when you're teamed up with Toprak and Toprak's able to do what he can do, it makes it a very difficult situation, even for a rider of Van der Mark's quality, a Supersport world champion, multiple race winner in the Superbike class, man that finished 3rd in the world as well.
Yeah, he has indeed, and we know the quality of Michael van der Mark, so we'll be hoping to see him getting back to his best as we're watching Andrea Iannone head out onto track for the start of the 10-minute warm-up session. Another rider that had a disastrous day yesterday, coming back from injury, which he suffered back in Most. So the home hero will be looking for a better day here today, but for Andrea Iannone, it's been quite a difficult weekend.
Well, at least for Iannone, he won't have a grid penalty for the Superpole race. He'll start where he qualified, which was 7th on the grid. Yesterday, he had a crash. Maybe it comes a little bit from that grid penalty because he had to come through an Iker Lackawanna, and just that little bit of extra speed through Curvone and into 12 and 13, and suddenly you're a little bit offline, and the limit is the limit, and unfortunately for him, he just overstepped it.
Alex Lowe's heading out onto track on his Bimota, picked up Bimota's best result of the season so far. 4th place really did put Danilo Petrucci under a lot of pressure yesterday, and just suffering on the straights is the Bimota, just lacking that top end compared to the Ducati, but a really strong effort from Alex Lowe's nonetheless.
Yeah, I bumped into Alex's mum and dad over the course of the weekend, and they've said it's a proper family holiday this weekend. They've got all the Alex's twins, obviously Sam's girl here as well. You've got everyone here, so it seems that there's just a massive family holiday here, and a result like yesterday really gave everyone a good lift for that as well. Obviously shows the potential of that Bimota project as well and what they're able to do.
Yeah, Lowe's is on tour in Misano this weekend. Almost a bit of contact there between Iker Lackawanna and Andrea Iannone. Garrett Gerloff on the Puchetti Kawasaki showed good pace on Friday, but just seems to be slipping off ever so slightly on the Kawasaki. For Honda as well, we expected big things from them yesterday after what they showed in testing and, of course, on Friday.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously one of those situations where you come from the test into the race weekend, it can be very different. And it's a lot hotter here this weekend than it was during the test, 10 degrees difference in track temperature. And for the likes of Jonathan Ray, we can see here in the number 65 Yamaha, I think that it's that moving goalpost that made it quite difficult. Qualifying is the bugbear for Ray because he just can't make that Yamaha work with the Q tyre. When he has to bite the screen, everyone else is able to find a little bit more than him, and that's down to his ability to work with the bike's ability to work with him. As an overall package, it just isn't working for Johnny and the Yamaha right now, and it's tough to see for him as well. And obviously for Jonathan, he has to see where the options are for next year. Might well stay at Yamaha, but you'd have to think he's looking elsewhere.
Yeah, it'd be quite difficult for Yamaha and Johnny Ray to maybe justify the partnership staying together, considering it just really hasn't worked out for either party. As Johnny Ray really is pushing into Leclerc. It looks like he ran a little bit deep as a 6-time world champion, but finished 16 seconds down on his teammate Andrea Locatelli, so he'll be looking for a lot more. Well, Johnny Ray's watching a replay of maybe an incident here between Gerloff and Iannone.
Yeah, Iannone was coming back into the pits as well. at the end of his first lap, and just almost tags up there with Gerloff. Nothing that's going to impact either of them at that stage. It was only their out laps. But for Iannone, we'll wait and see what he's able to do during this session, but it did look like he came back into the pits right at the start. Yeah, a bit of a shame there for Andrea Iannone. Hopefully they can get that rectified before the start of the Tissot Super Pole race coming up later on today. Michael Ruben Rinaldi, returnee for the Italian, 29 years old, and Rinaldi yesterday picked up a point on his return and been showing good form so far this weekend in comparison to his teammate Bahattin Sofoglou. Yeah, Bahattin's had a lot of crashes, and I think for Rinaldi, obviously here at Misano, two-time race winner here a few years ago, had 1-1-2 as his 3 races here on the factory Ducati, and this is home track for him and a place he knows inside out. So even though he's jumping onto that Yamaha, I think he probably, obviously his goal is set a little bit higher than just matching what his teammate can do and beating Bahattin Sofoglou. But for Rinaldi, at least he's back on a superbike. Yeah, it's good to see him back in the paddock. Or he's been in the paddock. It's good to see him back in the class, the Superbike class. Scott Redding on screen, 10th place yesterday. One of his strongest results he's had in a little while for Scott. So it's good to see that maybe something good is starting to come with that Bonovo Ducati. As we look at Nicola Biliga, he's already starting to get down to action here in the warm-up session. A 131.618 yesterday, all-time lap record. So let's see what Nicola Biliga can do on this current lap. Yeah, just for Scott as well. He had top 10s, obviously, in Phillip Island. He'd won in Assen and won in Portimao, and since then it's been a tough run for him, and obviously all the discussions about what's happening at the Bonovo team for next year. But we'll have to just wait and see what happens for Redding. Obviously, he needs to find something. He needs to find some results. We've got Donington Park next, obviously home round for him, but also a place he's had a lot of good results in the past, so he needs to find some form now in a month's time. Yeah, 125cc race winner in the past there is Scott Redding, starting off his World Championship career back in 2008. So yeah, a track he knows well and a track he absolutely loves. Nicola Biliga came across the line in 133.8. That's 2 seconds off his all-time lap record, but you would expect that in the morning. The rider's not really pushing on because with such little time before the Tissot Super Pole race, you don't really want to be making any mistakes and giving the mechanics a lot to think about, a lot to work on before the race. Just for Biliga as well, his pole time yesterday, 31.6, super impressive. I spoke to quite a few of the Ducati riders and they all said the same thing, that the bike is really good, but to still do that lap time, you have to give props to Nico for it. Shows just how well he's riding, and he has his bike very different to the other Ducatis, and he's able to make it work. And he's obviously trying to give himself the chance to fight with Toprak all the time, and that means that you're having to really go some. Yeah, you got to reinvent yourself a little bit. Alvaro Bautista, his teammate, we saw on screen a couple of moments ago, 6th yesterday after the penalty for Sam Lowes after exceeding track limits on the final lap. He was given a 3-second penalty, was Sam Lowes. And that's Biliga. Biliga's gone down. Wow, is that towards the end of that? That might be turn 15. Yeah. Wow, it's a big crash. We were just saying you don't want to be crashing in this warm-up session. The rider's not really pushing on, but we've seen so many times. Turn 15 is a very horrible corner. That left-hander, very fast. Nico wasn't really pushing on as well. 0.6 of a second off Toprak's time. You're looking at mid-33s, and just gets caught out. It's very easy to happen at turn 15. Just going to see the front's just going to fold from him. Just those few bumps on the entry there. And for Biliga, he goes down. Luckily enough, there's not too much damage done to the bike. Obviously, Nico should be okay after that one as well. You can see there just that front going for him. But those little ripples and bumps you could see on the bike and the suspension, just the movements there, and just catches them out. And it's so easily done through that corner. Yeah, and especially heading into the Tissot Super Pole race later on today, that would be a shock to the confidence for Nicola Biliga, so you'll have to try and get himself back into the mindset coming up a little bit later on today, well, just under 2 hours' time. Yeah, for his rivals, for Toprak, for instance, Toprak has to just assume everything's going to be fine for Biliga, and he's just going to be the exact same rider from the get-go, but that will give a little bit of a warning there to Biliga. Yeah, well, indeed. So, drama this morning in the morning warm-up. Nicola Biliga crashing out at turn 15, fast left-hander. Thankfully, he was back up on his feet and walking away, so it's good to see that the Italian rider, the championship leader, hasn't come under any injury with that one. Across the line now, Daniela Petrucci, 3rd place yesterday, 4th podium in a row, 4 third places in a row for Daniela Petrucci. Got out eventually. Sam Lowes just moved up to 2nd place there. We were just talking about him being a bit of a difficult Friday for Sam after some technical issues, but good recovery ride yesterday. Yeah, I talked to Sam after yesterday's race, and he was saying that basically with the hard front tyre, it was really difficult for him to be able to manage the race. but felt that considering he hadn't done his long run on Friday, it was a really good effort. The Super Pole performance I thought was really good. Obviously starts in the front row because of Budica's penalty, but regardless, that 4th fastest in the Super Pole with minimal running over the course of the weekend shows how much confidence he's got right now.
Iker Lecuona really pushing on in this lap. You see the rear sliding, the front pushing, coming through the final 2 corners on the Honda, really making that HRC really move around and sing as he back is in to turn at number 1. Second off, 4th place, but Iker Lecuona, from what we saw on Friday, yesterday didn't really go to plan.
Yeah, I'm always a little bit conflicted about Iker because we know that the speed's there, but we also know that on his bad days, Xavi Vieira has got better performances. The crashes for Honda and Iker, I'd love to see him on another bike. And obviously his contract's up. He's been linked with a few different seats in and around the paddock. But I'd love to see what he can do on a different package, that we really get to see what his level is. That's the one problem with the Honda right now for Iker and for Xavi. You're never quite sure what the level of the bike and the riders are, so it's one of those situations where a change for one or both could be really good to be able to see what they can do. I thought Xavi did really well yesterday with his injury. He's back a month earlier than expected, and he was able to ride around, score some points, and he's done a good job. I know that within the Honda team, speaking to some of the mechanics on his side of the box, they were really pleased with the effort that he was able to put in and to come away with points.
Yeah, finished only 4 seconds down from his teammate Iker Lecuona in 11th. Update on Domi Aguilar, declared unfit yesterday after his lap 1 crash, which is such a shame for Domi Aguilar because this weekend has been quite an improvement for Domi, changing crew chief this weekend. He was really on the up.
Yeah, for Domi, he ended up having a very unfortunate crash. Baton Zafoglu took the front into turn 8 and his bike just speared into Domi's bike, and just really bad luck. But that's the luck Domi's having at the minute. It's been a couple of years like that. He's had a lot of injuries, he's had surgeries, he's had issues, and unfortunately when your luck's out, your luck's out.
Yeah, it is indeed. Axel Bassani ran out of luck yesterday as well at turn 6. Tucked the front. He said yesterday that his pace was quite good, and Super Pole's never been a strong point, so he was just trying to find his pace, find his rhythm, and he thought that maybe he could hold on to 3rd behind Toprak and Nicola Bilga. However, he didn't get a chance to see what he could do, but he does start from 3rd position for the Tissot Super Pole race coming up in 1 hour and 50 minutes. We're watching his teammate Alex Lowe's coming across the line. Sam Lowe's is just behind him, and 3rd place for Alex. A good session for the Bimotas, 3rd and 5th respectively for the time being, as Toprak has the rider was behind Axel Bassani coming through the corner. We've just seen turn number 6 before Bassani tucked the front, but you can really see the Bimotas struggles down the straight as the BMW of Toprak just powers past the 47 there with ease, basically. Didn't even need to use the slipstream whatsoever as Toprak. A nice clean session for your reigning champion, Toprak. He sits pretty at the top, 0.6 of a second ahead of Alvaro Bautista on the Aruba Ducati, and Bautista really struggling for form yesterday, really struggling for grip. Finished 18 seconds down on Toprak, 17 seconds down on his teammate Nicola Bilga yesterday, and lost even more ground to Danilo Petrucci for 3rd in the standings. A big head shake there for Jari Montella, who's having a strong morning, 7th place at the moment. This looks like it's going to be an improvement on his time as he comes across the line. Checker flag is waving, and of course Jari Montella moves up to 6th place. So a good strong start for the Sunday morning for the number 5 Barney Ducati rider, and for Jari Montella, it's a good start for the day.
Yeah, it's another top 10 finish for Yari as well. Yesterday he came away in 8th position. He had 8th place in both the feature length races. Last time around, Toprak there with a bit of a moment through turn 1 as well.
Yeah, after checking flag, Toprak still pushing on. Good start to the morning for Jonathan Ray. He's up to 8th place after finishing, well, down in 12th place yesterday, 33 seconds off the win. So hopefully for Johnny Ray, this could be a good start to the morning, just building up some momentum after Friday, which was quite a difficult day with many issues in FP1. So he's been on the back foot ever so slightly, Johnny Ray. Toprak to see power sliding out. This is the moment here, you just mentioned, Stephen, towards turn number 1 and goes into turn 1. Look at the ripples in the front there. It's just pushing the front, and thankfully for Toprak, all that skill, all that effort, managing to gather it all back up and staying on 2 wheels.
Yeah, and you'll see it here when we ride on board with him as well. Just look at the bars, they're just going to fold a little bit for him, and he's able to keep it upright. Shake it ahead there for Razgadioglu, and Bit of frustration there as well, but at least for Top the times in this one, and he's got a bit of confidence then to go into the Super Pole session.
Yeah, 132.6 for Top Rack. The rider that won't have too much confidence going into the Super Pole race later on today is his championship rival, championship leader Nicolo Biliga, who crashed 5 minutes ago at turn 15, a fast crash to the penultimate left-hander. Tucked the front, but thankfully for the Italian, he was back up on his feet and back into the garage within no time. Alvaro Bautista needs some form coming from the fourth row of the grid ahead of the Tissot Super Pole race. Well, managed to salvage 6th place yesterday. We expected a little bit more from Alvaro, but just struggling with that grip. And obviously, things not going well for the two-time champion. As we know, he'll be a free agent for next year, so he needs to put in the performances and try and get his name on the market. But for a two-time champion, you can believe that there'll be a few places he will want to be in, a few places that will be, or people will be wanting to snap him up as top back at the top of the times, even after that moment, after the checkered flag. And he's a bit plus bag. Gives a wave to the fans, who are going to be coming out in their droves here today under the Mizzanos on a scorching day, we expect, both in terms of track temperature and on-track battle. So here's the results of morning warm-up. Top Rack, Razgat Lioglu, yesterday's race 1 winner, tops the session ahead of Alvaro Bautista, and Alex Lowe's leading his brother Sam ahead of Axel Pisani, rounded at the top 5 on the Bimota, Darren Montella, Iko Lacona, and Johnny Ray rounding at the top 8. Nicolo Biliga there had a crash at turn 15. He was in 9th ahead of Danilo Petrici, and then rounding out top 15 is Gerloff, Locatelli, Vickers, Gardner, Redding. Expect more from Charles Vierge. Andrea Iannone, who came to grief a couple of times in that session with other riders at the start, and then it's the MI Honda bringing up the rear. Consistent lap times from Top Rack, Razgat Lioglu just dipped into the low 133s in the middle of that run. The only rider so far that was in the 32s, the only rider that was in the 32s. Alvaro Bautista there just finding a little bit of time towards the end of the session, and consistently in the mid to high 133s for Alex Lowe's on the Bimota. So he'll be hoping for a strong session coming up later on today. So that's morning warm-up done and dusted and written into the history books. It's Top Rack Razgat Lioglu that leads the way. However, Nicolo Biliga will be hoping to bounce back after his crash. So join us for the Tissot Super Pole race coming up at 11 o'clock local time.